Hey guys, hope you guys are having a good weekend here. I want to take this time to actually answer a couple of questions, probably very popular ones that people ask themselves all the time and ask many people. It's just a conversation around strategy, consistency, profitability, all that type of stuff. I also want to touch on a little bit of the price action moves that we had this past week and also what took place on Friday. Some really, really big moves. And I think that you either caught the great end of things up or down, or you probably struggled and blew the shit out of your accounts. But either way, there is something to be learned in the market itself, right? So I want to touch on that. And I also want to share a little bit about how trades could have been taken based on how I would have personally taken it, but also with one of the things that I've been kind of sharing bits and pieces about, which is the FF futures forecaster indicator, how to use that tool to also help execute your trade. So I'll cover a few of those things. So I'll first and foremost, I just want to start off by just answering a couple of those questions about how do you know when your strategy works? There's so many strategies in the market, and I really don't think there's one silver bullet method. Anyone who tries to tell you that there's this one way to trade and you're just going to be super successful is lying to you because it's not how it works. I may have only been trading in the market for about 3 to 4 years, but in my time, just venturing down the path of the free content that exists on YouTube, to working with some of the veterans such as Stock Market Wolf and Rig Trades. Both of their styles are amazing, right? And obviously has made them very successful as traders over the past 8 to 13, 15 years that they've traded for. And even for myself, as I was learning their styles, I would find nuances that didn't work for me, but that didn't matter. It didn't mean the system didn't work. It just meant that based on how it connected with me, it didn't work the way that I wanted it to work, right? And so I don't think there is one strategy, and I don't think that anyone has one better strategy than someone else. I have made money, lots of money trading small cap stocks under Stock Market Wolf's methods. Like I remember because I was starting off small with him, and I only had a few $1,000s, and I grew that few $1,000s to high five figures over the course of 1 year, which is crazy to even think about that on the small cap stock market, right? And then even using options trading, right? I've had 5 figure years as well with options trading using rate trade systems. So I think that all in all, I'm just trying to say is that there is no one strategy. So I don't stress too much about that. But what I will say about strategy that I've learned over my time is I think the strategy in some ways it coincides with you as a person, your personality, your psychology, and all of that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are certain strategies that require a little bit more maybe risk tolerance. There are some that are a little bit more adrenaline focused in the sense of like maybe a momentum breakout trading, scalping, those type of things, right? And I think all of that really, resonates with what is your psychology of trading. And so I don't think it's a one size fits all when it comes to strategies. It really comes down to how do you process risk? How do you feel, when a trade is in action, whether it's moving fast or slow, like all the different things that really kind of creates your tilt, right? Um, so I think in some ways you almost need to find a system or develop a system that suits the way that your psychological state works. So anyways, I don't want to dive into too much of that. That's part of what I'm trying to do when as I build up my mentorship program is touching this deeply and hoping to find ways to tailor systems and strategies to who you are as a trader. Because that's for me as a business consultant that works with restaurants and entrepreneurs. That's what I do. I don't go in there and say, hey, this cookie cutter business plan approach works with every single restaurant client. No. I think that what you're trying to achieve, your objective, your end goal, your business plan, what are you trying to do? That might differ depending on who you are as a person and how you convey yourself to the public, how you execute your business plan with your customers and your staff, right? All those type of things. And so I kind of talked about that on Instagram as well about like the correlation between day trading and business. And I think that that all ties together in so many facets, right? Again, back to the fundamentals of business planning and execution to, the psychology of trading and the psychology of entrepreneurship. And I think that all ties together. The other question that was asked for me was, when did I find consistency? I mean, I think I found consistency at different points. With small cap stocks, I found consistency fairly quick, I would like to say, considering I was very new to trading. I think it was just a couple of months, like learning how to hunt for small cap stocks, how to, play like when trades get halted and stuff like that, how to play all those momentum breaks and what have you, right? Like that was fairly quick. Options was actually a much longer learning curve for me. Um, I want to say options probably took a year before I found consistency. And that's even after I had like mentorship, right? And that's reason being is because there was just so much to account for, right? The Greeks, the volatility of things, the way premiums can hurt you, work for you, all those type of things, right? Um, so that took actually the longest. Now, obviously, the risk to reward on option is very lucrative. But personally, for me, it was just it took a long time because of the amount of things I had to account for. And then also with that said and done, with my life now, because my life has changed a lot from where I was when I started trading small caps, like in terms of my profession and where I am in my family life. Like I have kids now. I didn't have kids when I started learning how to trade stocks. Um, and even like work wise, I used to work for one company. Now I'm independent, right? So there's just so many factors. And again, just tying it all in and how your life is and what suits your need, I think that's important to understand too, right? Like, so I moved away from options. I moved to futures trading because futures allowed me to trade 22 hours a day versus only, 7 hours of the day. And so that flexibility was important to me. It was very hard for me to always be up in the morning to trade the New York session. And I say that because not because I'm not awake, but because often I could be on the road already before the market even opens. So there's just a lot of things for me to account for. And so I find that now, because I'm trading futures, I trade quite often over the Asia session, and I dabble a little bit on the London session just because of what works for me. And I still trade the New York session. For those who are following me will know I still enjoy the New York session a lot because that is where you get your 100 point, 200 point trades because the market moves much faster and much more violent, right? And so anyways, I that's my answer to consistency. I think there is really no silver bullet. It takes some time. Like even if I was, and I guess I should touch on futures. Like I was blowing so many accounts between August of last year till like November of last year, which was about what August, September, about 4 months. I was blowing a lot of accounts. So even though it wasn't a long period, I blew a lot of accounts. Like I'm talking like my fund of futures was probably the worst for me in terms of how many I blew, not because of the firm, but because that's where I started. So I made all my mistakes with that firm, right? And so I think I almost find that with every prop from a hop to, there's always a little bit of growing pains, understanding the trading rules and all that type of stuff. I know it seems crazy, like you're like thinking like, oh, well, it's a chart. Why does it matter? Well, I look at it as the rules affect your psychology. And so if it affects your psychology, it's going to affect how you execute your trades. So anyways, hopefully that kind of answers that question. And then I think the last one was just about profitability. Yeah, again, I think that comes down to risk management too, right? Like, I mean, um, I'm profitable today as a futures trader, but am I where I want to be? Not really. I mean, I think I'd love to be able to find more consistency still. I'd like to be able to hold those winning trades longer, right? I think I've done a pretty good job cutting bad trades, like even for my stats that I've shared on YouTube and Instagram, like my bad trades, I'm out of those trades within like 10 minutes. Like I'm rarely in them for long. But winning trades, I can hold them for hours on ends if I have to, right? And so again, that comes with all experience. So hopefully that answers those questions. So I want to dive right into the charts now and talk a little bit about like what happened this past week. Now I will just kind of quickly touch on the fact that I'll just switch to the daily chart just to see how crazy it was. But you can see obviously this past week, weeks I should say even for that matter, has been bloody. We've pulled down quite a bit actually. And so, what was interesting, honestly, to see was this daily failure to go lower candle. This doesn't mean that the bleeding is done, but I'm very interested to see what happens this coming week. And I'm not going to speculate and talk about my weekly watch list. For those who have watched my other videos will know I don't because it depends on really where we open. Later on today on the Asia session, if it opens up super high up here, I don't know, that can change the technical thought for me, right? Or if it opens super low down here, it can also change my thought. So I'm not going to speculate too much on that. Now, kind of diving into the charts now on Friday. So Friday was pretty crazy. I think that for me, for those who followed, I on my fund of futures competition account, I went longs off the open, and reason being, and I usually don't always take a trade right out the open, but it was where our chart was that made me want to take it. So I should move to the 2 minute time frame because that was where I kind of based my entry off of. Um, we were coming down, and for those follow me, we were holding a channel and a mastermind level, right? So for me, I saw this as we got a double bottom at the level and channel. And so with the opening print showing that we had strength coming into, I took my longs here, actually right out of the gates. It was somewhere, I think it was like, I think it's a 20, 20050, something like that. I'd had to look at my notes again, but that's where I took my longs. Now, when I was coming up here, it rejected after we hit the upper edge of the channel and it came back down. I still stayed in my position. Someone asked me that I met on Discord recently saying, hey, like, did you not move your stop to break even? And did this candle not stop you out? My answer was no. It depends, honestly. It really depends on what I'm looking for from the trade, the size of my trade, all of that, right? That decide when I move my stops to break even. I know how violent the New York market can move. And so you can get wiped on 50 points like this. So moving it to break even too early on, especially if the chart doesn't ask for it, doesn't make sense. For me, my stop loss was going to be the break below the level here. And so we never got there. So it was fine. I was able to hold this bounce and move all the way up. I was asking myself the question, and this is where in hindsight, if I trade my plan, I probably should have just sold up here. And I don't mean even just the channel. I mean, just even the Asia opening print, right? I should have just sold there. But again, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I don't think that's how we should look at things too much. But it's just more so about learning why you did what you did and what you should have done or whatever, right? Um, but basically, for me, I had a stop loss about right over here at the 2151 area, right? And so the rejection of this channel and the Asia opening print was fairly clean. Honestly, if I was looking for a short trade, this would have been it. Reason being is because it tested the high of news candle. It was the channel and it was also Asia opening print. So whoever took shorts here, amazing. Would I have taken it right out of the gates on this? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if I would have done that. It fits some of my criteria, but it wouldn't be considered A plus. But anyways, nevertheless, it came back down and it stopped me out about here. So this was still about a north of a 100 point trade for me. So on one contract, that's $2,000, right? So that was still a fairly solid trade that I locked in on my Mud Futures competition account. After this, I left. As much as I would have loved to continue trading, I had to hit the road for work. And so it is what it is. And this is the psychology of discipline that I built over the years of just being able to let go. Markets will move, it will always move. And so the mindset of abundance is important for us to keep in mind. I probably say this almost every video, but I keep emphasizing because I hear and I see so many people stress out about so much about the fact that, oh, I missed out on this big trade. And if I was there, I should have taken it and all that stuff. Great. You can make those comments, but don't let that affect your next trade. It's so important, right? But for me, I think for those who have been following will know I love my double tops with a lower high entry. This would have been more of my entry if I were to take shorts. But even then, I probably would have been still skeptical because of where we were. We were in between channels and levels, and that's just very, yeah, skeptical for me. But nevertheless, anyone who caught this, congratulations, huge here, right? Again, you see another opportunity here. We either would have shorted the New York opening print here as a lower high, or we would have taken longs here at the double bottom. I wouldn't have taken this one. This is not enough confirmation, but a double bottom here would have been clean for me. I probably would have entered on this candle here, and my stop loss would have been the low of day here. So again, that long would have been sick. Would I have caught this whole thing all the way to the top? Probably not. I personally, thinking how I traded my setup, I probably would have sold the moment we were to touch New York opening print because I would have personally expected this to pull right back down with how weak the market has been, right? So I'm just sharing you like the way that I would have traded this if I was on the day of, right? But it is what it is, not a big deal. Now I wanted to pivot quickly to the forecaster tool. And I want to talk about, give me one second here, actually. What I would look for in this is actually, so this is the trigger line off the 2 minutes. So you could see we opened up, we pushed up, we bounced, we respected. The clean entry that I would have taken on the forecaster tool on the 2 minute time frame would have been this failure to go higher doji candle. As we uh, as we whipped above this trigger line, I would have taken the shorts down to capture this trade to the fib line. The other one I would have taken shorts on would have been the other tap over here as well, a failure to go higher, the short trade all the way down. And you can see again, you could have scalped another one here. The trigger line is quite a good one to reference actually in the trade. And then also for longs, right? As we moved ourselves way up, you see that we whipped the trigger line here and longs off this area would have been a very clean trade as well. So these are just some examples, again, of how to use it. The developer, the tool can probably speak to this a little bit better, but hopefully that adds some value. And for those who want have more questions about the forecaster indicator, feel free to drop a comment, DM me, whatever you like. Hopefully you found this valuable. If you like I've shared here today, please drop a like. It means a lot to me. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It also helps me as I'm learning to build this channel. I'm trying to kind of share my trading journey as much as I can with traders, especially as someone who is still considered a very small fry in the grand scheme of things. So anyways, hopefully it helps. Good luck with the coming week. We'll see you again soon.